Hi everyone, welcome to Hatha Yoga. My name is Michelle Chua. For this practice, have a couple of yoga blocks, a strap, and a blanket in which you might want to fold up that blanket and start by sitting towards the front edge of it as we begin in Sukhasana, which means a comfortable seat or easy pose. So last week, I think it was, I quoted mindfulness teacher Pema Chödrön on describing meditation as not about erasing your thoughts or changing who you are, but rather meditation is about befriending who you already are. And one of my yoga students found this article in his files. It's an article written by the philosopher Alan Watts, who is also a meditation teacher. And this article was written in May of 1963, and he wrote it in response to this self-improvement movement that came up after the flower power movement days. And so the article is called The Myth of Self-Improvement, How to Get Better Without Even Trying. And I thought this was really interesting. I'll just read a few excerpts from it. But he talks about, so you went out to do a self-improvement thing, right? Making money is a measure of improvement, a measure of your economic worth, or at least that is what it is supposed to be. But when you went out, in other words, for the status instead of the actuality. If you're a musician, why do you play music? The only reason for playing music is to enjoy it. If you play music to impress an audience or to read about yourself in the newspaper, then you are not interested in music. Here's a situation. The whole idea of self-improvement is a will-o'-the-wisp and a hoax. This is an interesting thing he brings up. Let us begin where we are. What happens if you know beyond any shadow of a doubt that there is nothing that you can do to be better? Well, it is a kind of a relief. I am what I am, there it is. So you say, now what will I do? And there's a little fidget that comes up because we're so used to making things better. Leave the world a little better than when you found it, sort of thing. Or I want to be of service to other people, and all such dreadfully hazy ideas. There is that little itch still. But if we realize that there really is nothing we can do to improve ourselves or to improve the world, it gives us a breather in the course of which we may simply watch what is happening. No one ever does this. It sounds terribly simple. It sounds so simple that it looks almost as if it's not worth doing. But have you ever just watched what is happening and what you are doing by way of reaction to it? Just watch it happen and do not be in a hurry to think you know what it is. People look and say, well, that is the external world. How do you know? The whole thing from a neurological point of view is just a happening in your head. That you think there is something outside the skull is a notion in your nervous system. There may or may not be. That this is the material world is someone's philosophical idea. I'll skip ahead. And he says, I love this line, and it may be that when you are in this way, freed from being out to improve everything, that your own nature will begin to take care of itself. Once you get out of your way, you will begin to find out that the great things that you do are really happenings. No great genius can explain how he does it. He says, yes, I have learned a technique to express myself because I had something in me that had to come out. I had to learn how to give it. If you are a musician, you have to learn how music is produced, or if you want to describe something, you have to learn a language so that others can understand you. You need a technique. But beyond that, can you tell someone how you were able to use that technique to express the mysterious thing that you wanted to tell them? If we could tell people that, we would have schools in which, I'll skip a little bit more, just not to make this too long, but basically he sums it up here in the end. All growth is fundamentally something that happens, but for it to happen, two things are important. The first is you must have the technical ability to express what happens. And secondly, you must get out of your own way. But right at the bottom of the problem of control is, how am I to get out of my own way? If I showed you a system let's all practice getting out of our own way, it would only turn into another form of self-improvement. We find this problem repeatedly throughout the entire history of human spirituality. In the phraseology of Zen Buddhism, you cannot achieve this by thinking. You cannot achieve this by not thinking. Getting out of your own way comes about only when doing so ceases to be a matter of choice, because you see that there is nothing else for you to do. In other words, it happens when you see that doing something about your situation is not going to help you, and that trying not to do anything about it is equally not going to help you. Then where do you stand? You are nonplussed. You are simply reduced to watching and letting it be. Let's just digest that for a moment. And we'll peel through the layers a bit as we peel through the layers of what we're carrying in our bodies, our breaths, and our minds through this asana practice. Maybe set your hands to rest at your heart in some way as you begin to connect to your various layers of being physical. And as you feel your natural breath energetic and mental and emotional. The resounding theme I heard from that article was getting out of our own ways. Watching things happening. This is actually so much of yoga, which is the practice called svadhyaya, self-study. Take a moment to perhaps set an intention for your practice. And maybe a dedication to someone or a group of someone's. And let's clear out any stagnant air, inhaling through the nose, exhaling any sound to your mouth. One more time, inhale a little deeper. Hold the breath in at the top. See if you can sip in a little more air without tensing the body, and let it out through the mouth. Let it go. And let's begin with chanting 3 ohms. Take another deep breath. Feel the breath enter your lungs. And as you close the lips, allow it to exit through your nostrils. Allowing the breath to balance slowly in and out through the nose. As you gently narrow the back of your throat, invite a soft whisper that allows you to connect to your breath through sound. Observing your breath coming in and out, feeling the sensation of your breath as you practice victorious breathing technique. Let's start to come down onto our hands and knees, all fours, setting your hands flat on the earth so that your wrists are beneath your shoulders. Stack or step your knees a couple inches behind your hips. And let's start to move the spine to the breath. As you inhale, glide your chest forward and coil it up as you look up, cow pose. And as you exhale, press down through your hands and lift the belly, drop the head to round your back, cat pose. Taking several more, inhaling as you roll the shoulders back and down, lifting your heart. Exhaling as you lift the navel, contracting your abdomen, tucking your tailbone under. Let's go maybe another 3 cycles of breath in Biralasana, which means cat-cow pose. As you stretch your weight throughout your fingertips, point your index fingers straight ahead so they're parallel to each other, or slightly turn them out. And on your next exhale, tuck your toes, lift your hips high and back into Adho Mukha Svanasana, or downward facing dog. Take the first few breaths here if you'd like to pedal your feet slowly in place, warming up the backs of your legs. To gently move your skull as you allow your neck to relax. Continuing to hear your own breath. Let's allow more space across the shoulders by rotating your outer upper arms towards the floor. And as you drop your head freely, set your eyes onto one spot, steadying your drishti or gaze. And now let's listen to 3 more balanced breaths through the nose. On your next inhalation, glide forward into the top of a push-up plank pose, whether with your legs straight or your knees on the ground directly under your hips this time. As you stack your shoulders right above your wrists, gaze on the ground about 1 foot ahead of your hands and broaden your chest. Lift your belly towards your back. And if your legs are straight, firm your inner heels back, activating your quadriceps. 2 more breaths. And with an exhale, lower your knees again. Inhale, raise your right arm up towards the sky. Exhale, thread your right arm underneath your left bent elbow, resting the right side of your head either onto the ground or on a block. Level the height of your 2 hips by not rotating your pelvis, but rotating your rib cage in this spinal twist. Let's take another 4 breaths. Pressing down with your left hand, slowly rise up back to all 4s. And inhale, raise your left arm up towards the sky. Exhale, thread it underneath your right bent elbow, resting the left side of your head on the floor or on a block. And then again, level the height of your 2 hips, allowing the twist to happen mostly across your waistline. About 4 more breaths. And then press down to your right palm, come back to all 4s, hands and knees. Tuck your toes, lift your hips again to downward facing dog. Now keeping your 2 hips leveled from the inseam of your right leg. Inhale, raise your right leg behind you, flexing the foot. See all the toes pointing towards the ground. As you exhale, slowly bend that knee towards your nose as you round forward into plank pose. Shoulders right over the wrists. And gently step your right foot forward beside your right thumb. Lower your back knee and untuck the toes. Without moving your legs, energetically scissor them as you root down to your right foot and raise your arms overhead into a kneeling lunge or Anjaneyasana. Just like in downward dog, how we broaden across the shoulders here, rotate your triceps forward and press your shoulder blades down. Lifting your frontal hip bones, direct your tailbone downward and slightly forward towards your inner right heel. Rolling your shoulder heads back, lift your sternum, and maybe start to look up. Perhaps seal the palms in prayer. Let's take another 3 breaths. Deep inhale. Backstroke your arms as you exhale, arriving again in downward facing dog. Downward dog, press down through both palms, level the height of your hips, and from the inseam of your left leg, inhale, raise your left leg behind you, flexing the toes downward. Exhale, bend the knees slowly towards your nose, lifting the belly as you round forward into plank, and gently step the left foot beside your left thumb, lower your back knee, untuck the toes. Energetically scissor the legs as you root to your left foot and sweep your arms overhead into Anjaneyasana. Again, lift your frontal hip bone slightly. A feeling of containing your center rather than spilling the pelvis forward. As you draw your tailbone down and slightly towards your inner left heel, roll your shoulder heads behind the ears and press them down as you lift your heart. Maybe seal your palms in prayer. Let's take another 3 full breaths. On an exhale, backstroke your arms, land your fingertips at the front of your mat and step forward to fold in Uttanasana. Feet hips width apart and parallel. Press down to your feet. Inhale, circle your arms wide, rising to stand with palms meeting overhead in Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, join your hands in prayer at your heart in Padasana. Let's flow through Sun Salutation A 3 times, 1 breath, each movement. So steadying your breathing, let your body follow that pace. Inhale, circle your arms up, look up. From your hips, fold as you exhale with a flat back. Press down with your fingertips on the floor or onto your legs. Lift the crown of your head forward, inhale. Step back into your version of plank pose, and as you exhale, glide forward, bend your elbows back to graze your side ribs, come all the way down from Chaturanga Dandasana. Press down through the tops of your feet, inhale, coil your chest up, hugging the elbows close to your ribs in Cobra or Bhujangasana. Press up through hands and knees or plank. Lift your pelvis back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog. Let's take 3 breaths. Let your body be still. On your third in-breath, bend your knees, lift your heels and hips high. Empty the breath as you look past your hands. Then walk or float your feet to the front of your mat. In your forward fold, press your legs to the ground. Inhale to half forward fold, lengthening your spine towards a flat back. Exhale, forward fold again. Press through your feet. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands to the heart, Padasana. 2 more rounds of Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, sweep your arms high. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. Walk to plank or hold the breath and jump to Chaturanga. Exhale after you land. Then inhale to Cobra, or from Chaturanga, keep your pelvis lifted and coil the chest up to upward facing dog. Then exhale to downward facing dog. Let's hold for 3 breaths here. Watching and observing your own reactions to what you are observing. Empty the 3rd breath, then walk or float to the top. Inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, gaze up. Exhale, Padasana. Once more, Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, sweep your arms. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen forward. Walk or float back to your vinyasa. Take it all the way through. Let's take 3 breaths again in downward dog. This time, bring your feet together in downward dog. Inhale, raise your right leg behind you. Then exhale, bend the right knee and turn your thigh open at the hip. Take another in-breath and tack your left outer hip back. As you exhale, tap your right knee outside your right upper arm in plank. Then gently step the foot between your hands, spin the left heel down, align heel to arch for warrior two. Inhale, windmill the arms, and right away, steady your body, steady your gaze, steady your breath. As you roll the right sitting bone underneath your body, allow your front knee to point towards your pinky toe. Completely straightening your back leg, press the outer foot into the earth. Centering your spine between your feet, last two breaths in Virabhadrasana 2. Firm down through both feet and straighten your right leg for Trikonasana. Glide your hips towards the rear of your mat, reaching your right hand towards your front wall before placing that hand to the right side of your right shin, on a block or on the floor. As you raise your left arm straight up, spiral your chest slightly to face the sky, and perhaps steady your eyes just past your left thumb. A few more breaths in triangle pose. Look down at your right foot, and as you exhale, step back to downward facing dog. Take a full cycle of breath here. And in downward dog, bring your feet together again to touch. Then inhale, raise your left leg behind you. As you exhale, bend your left knee and rotate the thigh open. Inhaling, tack your right outer hip back. Then exhale, tap your left knee outside of your left upper arm in plank before gently stepping the foot between your hands, spinning the right heel down, align front heel to arch a back foot. Inhale, rise up and arrive in warrior two. Left outer hip rolling underneath the body. Top of the right thigh bone firming back. Your two shoulders stacking right above your two hips. About 3 more breaths. Virabhadrasana 2. Let's straighten the left leg for triangle. Sweep your hips towards the back of your mat as you reach your left hand towards your front wall before placing it to the left side of your left shin. As you raise the right arm up, spin your chest slightly to face the sky and perhaps steady your eyes just past the right thumb. Trikonasana. This time look at your left foot and place your hands to frame it. Arrive at the top of your mat in a standing forward fold. Let your feet come together so that your inner edges of your big toes touch. Inhale, circle your arms, rise all the way up, palms meeting overhead. Exhale your hands together at your heart. Listen to your breath, and as you slow it down, set your pace for flowing again through 2 cycles of sun salutation B. Surya Namaskar B. So with your feet touching, allow your knees to touch. Inhale, sit low in chair pose, raising your arms up. Exhale, bow from your hips. Press the ground of your legs. Inhale, lift halfway up. Walk to plank to lower or float to chaturanga. Take your vinyasa here. In downward facing dog, inhale, lift your right leg from the inseam, squaring your hips. Exhale, step the foot beside your right thumb so your feet are hips width apart. Spin the left heel down. Inhale, rise to warrior one, facing forward. Exhale from plank into your vinyasa. From downward facing dog, inhale, raise your left leg from the inseam. Exhale, step the foot beside your left thumb so your feet are hips width apart. Spin the back heel down. Inhale, rise up to warrior one. Exhale, lower into your vinyasa. In downward dog, let's take 3 slow breaths. Land your eyes on one spot. And when you finish your third exhalation, walk or lightly jump your feet together to touch at the front of your mat in a forward fold. Then inhale, rise forward to a flat back, half forward fold. Exhale, fold again. Inhale, bend your knees together, sit low in chair pose. Exhale, rise with the hands together at your heart. Last round of Surya Namaskar B to the breath. Inhale, sit low, Utkatasana. Exhale, bow forward, Uttanasana. Inhale to a flat back, Ardha Uttanasana. Walk or float to Chaturanga Dandasana. Continue through your vinyasa. From Adho Mukha Svanasana, inhale, raise your right leg. Exhale, step the foot forward, spin the back heel down. Inhale, rise to Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale to lower into your vinyasa. From Adho Mukha Svanasana, inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale, step the foot beside your left thumb, spin the back heel down. Inhale, Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale into your vinyasa. Then again, hold still for 3 breaths in Adho Mukha Svanasana. Noticing what you're observing and how you are reacting to what you're observing. After your third exhale, walk or float to the top. Then inhale to a flat back, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Bend your knees again. Inhale, sit into Utkatasana. This time, join your hands at your heart. Let's begin to twist to the right and revolved chair pose. Parita Utkatasana. Drawing your left hip back, rotate your chest to face your right wall, and send your shoulder blades down your back, taking 2 last breaths. Sit a little lower as you unwind your arms to center. Inhale in chair. Exhale, rise, hands together at your heart. Let's take a full breath in Padasana. Keeping the breath steady, bend your knees again for side 2. Inhale the hands together at the heart and chair. To your left, exhale, begin to explore the range of your twist, breath by breath. If you peek at your knees, see that your right knee is not coming forward of the left knee. The knees are in one line. You're able to stabilize your hips, your lower back, and continue to rotate your rib cage. Last 2 breaths. Sink your hips a little lower and inhale through center in chair pose. Exhale, rise up to stand. Take a full cycle of breath. And then please find your blocks. Let's place them, stepping your feet hips width apart at the front of your mat. Place your blocks on their tallest height to frame your heels. Then grab your strap and let's prepare for Parsvottanasana. Stepping your left foot back 2/3 as far as you did in Warrior One, where both legs remain straight, both soles of the feet entirely on the ground, and both frontal hip bones facing forward. Then take the strap in your left hand, and as you raise your left hand, let the strap dangle behind you. With the help of your right hand, rotate your left outer upper arm forward. Press your two shoulders down as you bring the left elbow behind your head. Then reach your right hand underneath behind you to catch hold of the other end of the strap. Walking your hands as close together as you can. If your hands meet, you could clasp the hands and let go of the strap. Otherwise, keep holding the strap, spread your toes, engage the front muscles of your thighs, feel stability in your legs, stability in the belly, drawing in. Then roll your shoulders back and inhale, look up as you lift your chest. Exhale, hug in the front ribs and begin to bow towards the inside of your right shin, just a little bit of your range, breath by breath. As you draw your right outer hip back, continue to lengthen your spine to trace the midline of your mat. Notice if your head is starting to turn right. Shoulder blades moving away from the neck. About 2 more breaths in pyramid pose. Keep firming in the belly and inhale, micro bend the right knee and lift your back parallel to the floor. Bring your hands onto your blocks, keep the breath steady. Now look ahead of your mat, at least 2 feet ahead on the floor. Place your blocks about 1 foot in front of your right foot. Shift your weight forward as you lift the left leg from the inseam, flexing the left foot into Warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3. Either keep your hands on your blocks or reach them back by your sides, palms facing down, or join your hands in prayer at your heart, or open the arms apart. Or if you're seeking more rigor, extend the arms overhead. Maybe the palms touch. About 3 more breaths. Keep hugging in your front ribs, drawing the shoulders down your back. Feel the center line of your body horizontal as you level your 2 hips. Blues to Warrior 3. And then let's take the blocks with us. Frame your right foot and step the left foot back to pyramid pose. Place your left hand on the inner side of your right foot on a block or the floor, preparing for revolved triangle pose. So using your right thumb, hook the outer crease of your right hip and gently tack it back. I like to place the free block across the lowest part of my lower back, just to make sure my 2 hips are staying leveled and I'm not rotating my pelvis in the twist. As you root to your feet, breathe in and stretch your spine down the center line of your mat. Then across your waistline, exhale, twist to your right and raise your right arm up. Now you also have the option, if you feel pretty stable in your balance here, to place the left hand on the right side of your front foot. Let's take about 3 more breaths in Parita Trikonasana. Then look down at your right foot. If you have a block across your lower back, take it down. Bend your front knee and step back to plank pose, where you might lower through a vinyasa or meet us in downward facing dog. Let's take about 3 breaths in Adho Mukha Svanasana. Just paying attention here. Bend your knees and empty your breath. Then walk or float to the front of your mat. Feet hips width apart, take your blocks and frame your heels. Blocks on their tallest height. Grab your strap. And this time bend your knees, drop your head. Inhale to roll your spine upright to stand. Now let's step the right foot back 2/3 as far as you did in Warrior 1. With both hips facing forward, both legs straight, both heels on the floor. Take the strap in your right hand, raise your right hand and dangle the strap behind you. Then use your left hand to rotate your right tricep forward, press the shoulders down and bring the right elbow behind your head. Reach your left hand underneath and grab the other end of the strap. Walk your hands as close together as you can. Maybe they clasped and you let go of the strap. Spread your toes, activate the muscles in your legs, your belly, and breathe in to roll your shoulders back, lifting your chest as you look up. Exhale, firm in the belly and start to fold from your hips towards the inside of your left shin. Breath by breath, take your time to explore your range. Tracing your spine down the center line of your mat as you draw the shoulder blades down your back. In pyramid pose or Parsvottanasana, let's take 2 more deep breaths. Firming in the belly, press to your feet. Inhale, lift your spine to parallel the floor and place your hands on the blocks. Keep breathing. Look ahead of your mat, at least 2 feet on the ground ahead, but place your blocks 1 foot ahead of your front foot. Lean forward and lift from the inseam of your right leg, flexing the right toes to face the floor in Warrior 3. Lengthen your spine so that it is parallel to the floor too. Lifting the navel in, square your hips. You might reach the arms by your sides, palms facing down, or join the hands in prayer at your heart. Or open the arms like wings, or raise the arms overhead, maybe the palms touch. Last 3 breaths in Virabhadrasana 3. Place your hands on your blocks. Walk the blocks to frame your left foot and step your right foot back to pyramid pose. Both hips facing forward, both legs straight, both heels grounded. Now keep the right hand down on the right side of your right foot on the block or on the floor. Place your left thumb on the outer crease of your left hip to gently tack the left hip back, re-leveling your hips. As we prepare for twisting triangle, you might use that free block and balance it across the lowest part of your lower back. As you breathe in, root down to your feet and stretch your spine down the middle of your mat. As you breathe out, visualize right under your rib cage, across your waistline, you're twisting to the left. Then raise your left arm up. Parita Trikonasana. And then exploring your range breath by breath. If your balance feels pretty stable, you might explore placing the right hand on the left side of your left foot. One more deep breath. Look down at your left foot. Remove that free block from your lower back, and please step to plank pose. This time from plank pose, let's all meet there. Bring your feet together to touch. Keep your 2 hips leveled. See if you can keep them from seesawing as you lower onto your elbows in forearm plank pose. Forearms parallel or fingers interlaced, creating a triangular base. Draw your sternum forward as you lengthen your neck and look just ahead of your hands, hugging in your front ribs. Arm back to your inner heels. 3 more breaths in forearm plank pose. And then we're going to change it up, playing with our inversions. Start to walk your feet forward and lifting your hips, press the fronts of your thighs back into dolphin pose. Count maybe 5 breaths, more or less. Make sure the elbows haven't splayed wider apart than shoulders distance. Press your chest back towards your shins, keeping your shoulders slightly behind your elbows. And use your forearms to press the floor away as you rebound a lift of your shoulders away from your neck, either letting your head hang freely or looking forward towards your thumbs. And when you've had enough, we'll meet in child's pose, Balasana, for 3 breaths. When you arrive in child's pose, you might want to give your shoulders a rest by letting the arms splay down by your shins. Slowing down your breathing. Notice what you're observing here and how you're reacting to what you're observing. All right, so let's take another minute or so, maybe 10 or so breaths to practice your last inversion, active inversion. So not shoulder stand, not legs up the wall right now, but either dolphin pose, downward facing dog, or headstand, handstand if you have a wall and want to play with that on your own. So let's take 10 or more breaths and then we'll meet in child's pose. So headstand people, interlacing the fingers like dolphin pose, forearms to the floor, back of the head, gently resting into the inner webbing of the palms, crown of the head on the floor. Only entering headstand if you have no neck issues, no neck injuries. So in any of your inversions that you're choosing from, feel the space throughout your neck. Encourage space in your cervical spine. Shoulders lifting away from the neck. And whatever is your base, which is carrying your weight and connected to the floor like your forearms or your hands, press the floor away, root down to lift the shoulders up. And when you've decided to come back to child's pose, let's take about 3 breaths there. Balasana. And as you're finished resting from child's pose, please slide your legs out in front of you and come to sit at the middle of your mat, preparing for our last active back bends. We'll start in bridge pose, and then we'll have the option to move into bow and or upward facing bow. So take a block with you. Hug the narrowest width of the block between your knees or thighs and separate your feet as wide apart as your knees, making sure your feet stay parallel to each other. If you want to come down slowly and activate your core muscles, you can extend the arms forward, keep the feet on the ground, and slowly lower onto your back. When you arrive with head on the floor, bring your arms down by your sides and slide your feet back until you could almost touch your heels with your fingertips, but not exactly, just almost. Press down through your feet and the backs of your shoulders as you tilt your chin slightly away from your chest and prepare to lift your hips for a count of 5 to 10 breaths in bridge pose. So when you're ready, as you lift your pelvis, activate your hamstrings. So without moving your feet, it's the feeling as if you're dragging your heels back towards your glutes. Then counterbalance that activation by stretching the fronts of your thighs towards the front wall. Spiral your inner thighs slightly towards the floor. Then walk your upper arms as close together as you can under your back ribs. Keeping your arms straight, if your hands meet, you might interlace your fingers. Keep your throat open as you expand the chest with your breath. Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, bridge pose. Oh, what a perfect timing for this mantra, Aham Prema, as we take this heart opener. Aham, I am. Prema, pure love. I am pure love. When you decide that you're ready to come down from bridge, use an exhalation to slowly lower your spine Perhaps you keep the block between your knees or thighs and just take a moment to rest with your pelvis on the floor, maybe 3 breaths to rest. And then decide on your second of 3 back bends. Either bridge pose again. If you want something more cooling, you can take supported bridge, place the block under your sacrum and rest on it. Or if your shoulders are feeling pretty open and you feel very energetic, then you can follow me into upward facing bow, in which you raise the arms, rotate the triceps forward, bend the elbows towards the sky, and flip your palms to face down alongside your ears, slightly turning out the hands so that your elbows stay shoulders distance apart, not any wider. Then as you press the feet down, lift your pelvis, activate your hamstrings, and stretch the fronts of your thighs forward. Press to your hands and bring the crown of your head to the floor. Pause there. You might walk the hands apart slightly. Keep the elbows no wider than shoulders distance as you squeeze the block between your thighs, pressing off your hands and feet. Chest opens towards the back of the room. Tailbone lengthens towards the front of the room. 5 to 10 breaths. Urdhva Dhanurasana. When you're ready to come out of upward bow, bring the top of your head to the floor. Then tuck your chin towards your chest. Then slowly lower your spine and pelvis. And take another 3 breaths to rest once you've landed from your second of 3 back bends. And for the third back bend, you might take any one of those first variations or roll over onto your belly and practice with me bow pose or Dhanurasana. That's where you catch hold of your feet behind you. So if you're on your belly, rest your forehead on the floor and scoot your knees as close together as you can. Bend your knees and press your pubic bone into the floor as you catch hold of your outer feet, good place to start, or your inner feet if you're looking for more sensation. Kick your feet back as you pull them towards you, lifting your knees without splaying them wider than hips width apart. Coiling your chest up, press the shoulder heads down your back and lengthen the back of your neck. 5 to 10 breaths before you release. And once you've let go from whatever last back bend you practiced, whether you're on your back or on your belly, begin to gently windshield wiper your shins as you slow down your breathing, exhaling even slower than you inhale. Maybe releasing heat by breathing out through the mouth. And then begin to lift your body upright to sit. And let's neutralize the spine in a seated twist. Extending your left leg in front of you. Step your right foot either on the floor in front of your right hip or cross the foot outside of your left knee. Maybe also bend your left knee. Just making sure your 2 sitting bones are grounded. You could also sit up on a blanket and that your spine is upright. Then place your right hand on the floor behind your pelvis. Raise your left arm. Press into the ground, even with the sole of your right foot, and breathe in, lift up to your crown. Exhale right under your rib cage, twist to your right, and lower your left hand to hold your shin, or hook your elbow outside of the thigh. Continuing to twist, breath by breath. Two more breaths here. And as you exhale, unwind your spine, and let's set up either sitting cross-legged, right leg in front or on top of the left leg, or opening the hips a little further in double pigeon, in which you stack your knees and your ankles while flexing both feet. Root down to your sitting bones, broaden your chest, rolling the shoulders back and open your throat. Imagine a flat back and maintaining it as you exhale and begin to bow from your hips. One more deep breath. Firming in the belly, start to lift your chest and inhale, rise up. Straighten both legs forward, maybe move out the feet. Let's set up the same way if you can for your spinal twist first. So left foot steps in front of the hip or outside of the right knee. Maybe also bend the right knee. Ground your sitting bones, place the left hand behind your pelvis, right arm up, breathe in, root into the ground and lift up. Breathe out, twist to your left and hold on to your leg or hook the elbow outside of it. Two last breaths here. At the end of this exhale, unwind your spine and let's cross the left shin forward or on top of the right shin. So you're either sitting cross-legged or stacking your ankles and knees with the feet flexed in double pigeon pose. Again, balance out your pelvis, lift up through the spine, relax the shoulders back and down. Belly firming in slightly, begin to bow from your hips, breath by breath. Imagine lengthening your spine each inhalation, extending your heart forward as you exhale to fold. One more deep breath here. Keep the belly firming in and begin to lift your chest as you inhale to rise. Straightening both legs. Let's prepare for a seated forward fold in Paschimottanasana. You have the option of using a strap around the balls of your feet, or to extend the arms up and perhaps hold on to the backs of your legs, or eventually clasp your big toes. So you might move the flesh aside from your sitting bones, really rooting down, lifting up, shoulders back and down, feet flexed, hips width apart. Take a deep breath in. Imagine a flat back as you start to hinge from your hips, breath by breath in Paschimottanasana. Find a little back bend as you're folding forward, a little bit of rolling the shoulders behind you and lifting the center of your chest, even as you're bowing in. About 3 more breaths. Belly still firming in. Begin to lift your chest. Inhale, slowly rise up. Now let's take one last minute for a cooling inversion. If you have a wall, you can take legs up the wall pose. Otherwise, you can grab a block, place it under your sacrum as you line your back and lift your legs in supported shoulder stand. If you have a folded blanket, you can set up in shoulder stand, traditional way, as long as you have no neck or shoulder issues. So if you're using the blanket, use the smooth part of the folded blanket, bring it in about 1 foot inward from the rear edge of your mat, and then lie back so that your shoulder heads are about 1.5 inches inward from the smooth fold of the blanket. And the purpose of the blanket is to help maintain the curvature of your neck and not flatten it to the floor. And plug your elbows onto the blanket as close to your rib cage as you can, lifting your pelvis, catch hold of your lower back, and then extend your legs straight up. You're trying to make a vertical line, stacking ankles, hips, and shoulders while tilting your chin slightly back. Salamba Sharvangasana. while headstand or Salamba Shirshasana is considered the king of asanas, the king of yoga poses. Shoulder stand, Salamba Chaturanga, is considered the queen of asanas. Complementing each other, yin and yang. You might move into halasana, legs over the head, in plow pose. Maybe from there, bending the knees to hug your temples. Or taking lotus with the legs. Padmasana. With the help of your hands on your lower back, if you're in plow or traditional shoulder stand, start to gently lower upper back, mid-back, pelvis. Let's all meet with nothing underneath the body, lying on the ground for fish pose, our final asana before Shavasana. So to set up for fish, extend your legs straight ahead and bring your feet together so they're relaxed. Then bring your palms face down underneath your glutes. Your thumbs meet. Press down to your forearms and elbows. Lift your chest and tilt your chin back as far as you can. You might bring the crown of your head to the floor, you might not. And give yourself maybe 5 clearing exhalations through the mouth here before you lower and start to position yourself for corpse pose. As you're releasing your body into that final surrendering posture, feel free to use any props that might offer your body ease to rest as effortlessly as possible in stillness. Closing your eyes as you arrive in corpse pose. Perhaps take a moment to scan your body mentally. Allowing each part to let go of doing. As you continue to be aware of what you're observing and how you are reacting to what you're observing. Shavasana. physical, mental, emotional, different layers of being. Be gentle with yourself and take your time to slowly begin moving your body again. You might eventually turn over to your right side, rest your head for a few breaths. And when you're ready, lifting yourself upright, find a comfortable seat for our 5 minutes of sitting silently in mindful meditation. Again, here's a quote from that article I read in the beginning by Alan Watts. When you are in this way, freed from being out to improve everything, your own nature will begin to take care of itself. So as we sit in these 5 minutes, we're not trying to erase our thoughts or change how we're being. I invite you to bring non-judgment as you observe what comes up in your mind, what comes up in your body or elsewhere, as well as observe how you are relating to that, how you are reacting to that. Let's begin. And gently expand your awareness from your inner world to your outer world and what's around you. Perhaps joining your palms to meet at your heart as you lift your heart and bow in with gratitude to yourself for following through, showing up for your practice. Gratitude to this community, supporting you through their practice. And anything else that you can feel genuinely grateful for right now. Let's close the practice, joining our voices in one chant of Om. Take a deep breath in. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.